Saw it here first, folks. Hey people, Resto Mod, aka Mike, has gotten into the flannel business, and he asked if he could make a flannel based off of Brian's dually. Find it 2X tall so I can open it. They come in talls too, so I got the 2X tall. Look at that, built by Trey 5, all over this thing. Oh, this is built by RMD Garage. It's apparently a Ford. I bought a Ford shirt. The movie with the Firebird, Burt Reynolds. Some of these are on their website, the Resto Mod website, and then some of them are on. Hold on, cut. Oh yeah, I just remembered. It's on the Greasy Hand Society website. Look at Pio tried one on for you.
I like it. It's soft.
Howdy folks, welcome to the first episode of the month of October, and we are here with my chassis. So as promised in the last video, I told you we'd have a full rolling chassis and everything. In this video, that one was only 2 weeks away, so in 2 weeks we basically built this whole thing. Engine's in it, trans is in it, axles in it, wheels, tires on it, all plumbed, wired, and it's ready for the body, but the body's over here. So we all came in on Friday, even Taylor, and there was like 25 people doing body work on the cab, and that's what it felt like anyway. Since then, Chris has just been dialing it in, so basically got it all ready for primer. We're hoping that Frank or Taylor paints this thing in 2 days, which would be Thursday, or worst case scenario, Monday. Either way, chassis is ready for the cab, so we kind of need it. So we'll do a brief walkthrough of this chassis. So this is Rev B chassis number 1. Really, we don't even call it number 1, we call it prototype. The reason we call it prototype is even though everything was drawn on the computer and it all says it works in computer life, when you get to real life, you realize that not everything works out perfectly. We've done little small changes since then, so the first production chassis is going to look at small changes here and there that'll be different. But basically, let's talk about this exact chassis. This is all laser cut, press broke, CNC formed, and then it's all MIG welded. So Derek welded all of this chassis. The rear suspension of this truck's a little different than most other chassis out there. It's a bag on bar with a 3-link. And basically what that does is it gives it quite a bit more lift. So we've done a bunch of these trucks, and one of the biggest issues we have, it doesn't get enough lift to sometimes get the wheels and tires off. This one with the bag on the bar, and then these are the new JRI shocks that AccuAir is dealing. So this gives the chassis enough lift to where we're hoping we might even be able to get these 2415s off. But worst case scenario, if we can't, it'll just be disconnecting a shock, and then the rear end will drop out far enough. So big benefit to the Rev B chassis. Another huge benefit is when this chassis was designed, and I got to see a lot of this stuff, there's a channel over the notch that braces the frame, but it was thought out ahead of time. So there's also things like these access panels that are flush fit. What that allows us to do is take our wires and run all the way front to back. And like the airlines, I did it without even a fish tape. So just because they're stiffer, the wires and stuff, we use a fish tape, but it just cruises right through. So like a lot of companies use internal gussets to keep their frames square. Rev B's figured out how to keep everything square and plenty strong and give us a good channel through the frame for guys like us that like to run wires through. So you can see like the AccuAir sensor just dives in with a grommet, the holes there. We've got holes on the outside of the frame here, which we use on this side for taillights and our AccuAir and compressors and blah, blah, blah. So really cool feature of the frame. Up front, I don't know what their travel numbers are, but plenty of lift. You know, we could tell from when we were mocking everything up, it more than clears the tire on this 67 to 72. So that's kind of cool. Let's go back to not chassis stuff. This is a T56 Magnum from American Powertrain. So this is a manual 6-speed, which with the turbo should make fun in between shifts because it'll make fun noises and blow off valves and stuff. So we got a harness from Modern Vintage, builds almost all of our harnesses unless we get stuck using the Holly or something like that. All the relays are there, all the Dakota Digital stuff's in it. And then because this is a turbo, we even did a coil pack plug so that I can plug in the Lingenfelter rev limiter. So I'll be able to do fun noises when this thing's parked and build boost and have it go pop, 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 pop and fire. And the engine is a 5.3. It's a brand new 5.3 that Summit Racing does. Basically it's a long block. And then we've got the Summit intake manifold on it, 92mm throttle body. And then we did all the plumbing here, and we've got a decent sized intercooler up front. I'm sure everybody knows about turbos, but this is a little different. This is a cast stainless divided log manifold. So what that means is, as you can see, we have 2 wastegates. So it takes the exhaust from the driver's side, and that comes in here, and it's actually a division inside this manifold. So the driver's side comes straight to a wastegate up here, which we've snaked around to come out the hood. And then the passenger side all comes off the other separation in the manifold through this wastegate, comes off there. So then as the 2 sides of the engine go into the turbo, it's still divided all the way to into the turbo. So should give us some pretty good control over the wastegates. We're not going to run a ton of boost because this is a stock bottom end 5.3, so maybe 10 pounds, somewhere in there. Blow-off valves over here. Again, these blow-off valves and the wastegate and the turbo are all from Summit Racing. They've got a new Turbo LS line, and we get to try it out. Because this truck is mine, you can look for probably some little more in-depth content. I don't want to say better or even more really, but more in-depth, I guess we would say, because if I want to do a burnout in this and it's capable of doing it with like 32 inches of contact patch in the back, then maybe we'll do some more fun video stuff with it. So if you aren't subscribed to the channel, you should be so that you don't miss this. Let's go look around the rest of the shop. We have got Manny's C10 back in here. Basically, we just need to tear this thing down. Frank's been doing some epoxy primer on it, so getting rid of all the bare metal. Some of this stuff was primed before, but for the sake of Frank's sanity, he wants to take this all the way down to metal so he knows what's underneath here. We've got some surface rust inside, and then we've got, don't look at this part because these stupid swamp coolers will ruin your life. So this is going to sandblast. It needed to anyway, get rid of all this previous primer. So yeah, not a lot of updates on that, but it's coming apart, it's moving. Stoked to see this one done. Manny's been a pretty rad customer, and he wants to see this thing all the way through. So no cut corners on this one. Like, we've cut some corners on mine because it's mine and I need to get back to making money. Moving along, Todd's Blazer, Roadster Shop RS4 chassis, big 900 horse Don Hardy Whipple supercharged engine, and it's been sitting here I think since the last video. I think the only thing we've done is we've got the other fender on, and I think the brakes were on it last time, but as soon as we get this done, this is moving over. We're gonna wire this thing hopefully and get it running in the next week or so while we wait for Frank to paint mine. Chris Kratos' truck has made the long journey from the other side of the shop to over here, because as soon as Chris is done with the body work on my truck, which should be today, tomorrow, then we're gonna start building the bed for this. We just got the radiator in. We were sent the wrong radiator the first time, but that actually just came in yesterday. So now we put the radiator in it. So we may be 2 people on this one. Try to get a bunch of work done before the open house. I don't know if we covered this in the last video or not, but the bed's all bed lined now. We made the splash shields like we normally did, or normally do, but these are, we had Pack Coast powder, do all the powder coat on those. It's textured black just because we didn't do bed liner underneath like we normally would. We just did like a rattle can bed liner, so I thought that would be a better option. The door is just sitting in here, so don't comment on the fitment yet because it's just laying in there. Looks like my truck is all over the shop right now. It's a little bit outside, a little bit over here, a little bit over here. We have Brandon White's square body. This is the one that I posted the video about, the power windows that everybody's commented on. I've turned the windows down a little bit, but they're quite a bit faster than a normal square body window. This thing is all wired under the hood, but we're still working on coolant hoses for the supercharger system. We do have the heat exchanger mounted, we have the reservoir mounted, and the pumps mounted. So working on plumbing this thing together, and then we're waiting on the gauges for the interior and the clips for the dash. So now we have all that stuff. Bag on the dash is the clips. Now we can put the Dominic built-in wrapped dash in with the clips and finish out the wiring on this thing. And then the exhaust has to be built. So then we can. We have the Bronco. All we were waiting for on this was these little roll pan pieces that Frank painted for us. Then we put those on, put the bumpers on. This thing leaves today or tomorrow. It's been tuned, but not driven. So it's gonna go back to interior. And then I asked him to bring it back to us so we can actually drive it, because right now there's no seats in it. I don't know how everything works. Mark over at Speed Sports said it all did fine, but I'd like to actually put it on the road and make sure of that. We have Roman's truck. We've got quite a bit of miles on it now. I think one more little trip on it, and then she's out of here. And I know Roman's been super patient, hasn't complained. He's even sent us like cookies and stuff. So Roman, I promise you, you will have it back. We'll probably be done with it next week. Aaron's truck is here. He wanted one of our tailgate latch kits in it. Oh, I didn't close all the way. He wanted one of our tailgate latch kits in it. So we installed that. The last time he really drove this truck was at Arnie's Pro Touring Truck Shootout here that was on the east side, and it was like years ago. And so he just left it sit around. And he's been telling me he was going to bring it in for us to work on for probably a year, and he just hasn't. He's a busy guy. But it finally made its way down here. Both batteries were dead. The remote on the battery is dead because this one has a push start. So Rob, our tow truck driver, picked it up, brought it over to us. We put the 2 new batteries in it. And then we realized we need a new battery in the remote, so we put that in it. And then we realized that he hasn't cleaned this truck up since he did that race. And at that race, he blew a power steering line. So the underside of this truck was still covered in crap from blowing a power steering line. So while we had it on the lift to do the batteries, we cleaned up everything. It's actually going to go get some tuning work on it tomorrow, Wednesday. Now that Kyle over at J&R will actually do some Holly tuning with us, it's going to go over there, get some test miles on a new tune. So, and then this one will be at Dino's. This one may be at Dino's. The Bronco's not going to be at Dino's. I don't know. Probably everything else is going to be at Dino's. We'll probably have like 20 trucks there. There'll be 10 in our booth, most likely. So that's kind of it, I think. Is that it? 2 new shirts coming to open house in Dino's. We have one with Derek's 57, which is killing the internet right now. The truck, not the shirt. And then we have another shirt that a pretty rad dude that does a lot of skateboard artwork and Thrasher magazine artwork did for us. So we're gonna have both of those. One of them's getting printed right now. The other one, we're still waiting for artwork to finish up. And then we'll get that one printed. So if you don't come back to us before the get down, or for some reason we don't get a video in, our open house is November 9th. It's here at the shop, 8550 North 91st Avenue. We are Suite 69. Frank is Suite 671. We'll have free pizza. We'll have free non-alcoholic beverages. If you bring alcoholic beverages, that's on you. We're not allowed to have them, but I don't patrol. So do what you want. And then Dino's is like 9 a.m. Friday we start, and we don't finish till 9 p.m. I think he says 7, but we're usually there late. And then Saturday will be Dino's as well. And Saturday night, hopefully I'll be going out and enjoying myself after the show. Can't do that Friday because we have to get up early. Anyway, thank you again. See you next time. Want to see the world's longest antenna? Oh, I should do the top part first. There we go. There we go. So if you need some better radio reception in your C10, just like you need a better axle in your C10, there's a couple Ford parts that'll work for that.